şu kısa babanın gibi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Salatu vesselamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve ashabihi ve etbahi ve sellem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So, inshallah, we are starting a new surah, Surah Al-Qiyamah, the resurrection. So, it's a 75th surah in Musaf order, but 31st in Revelation order. Again, a Meccan surah. This surah is a little longer. And so I'm not going to show all of the surah at once. Inshallah, let's go through it together. Today, I couldn't prepare for the questions individually, so I just wanted to highlight the words that attracted my attention. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. Nay, do I call to witness the day of resurrection. Nay, do I call to witness the self-accusing soul. أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَلَّنْ نَجْمَعَ عِظَامَهُ. Does man think that we cannot assemble his bones? فَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَىٰ أَن نُسَوِّيَ بَنَانَهُ. Yes, indeed, we are able to restore his very fingertips. So, and it will start talking about humans' structure, humans' creation, and whatnot. But let's start with the beginning. So, a few emphasis that I will make. So, this chapter is starting with two verses that start with la. La normally means a negation. But at the beginning of sentence, when used like this, it is being used for a word of oath, like I swear by. Or in some interpretations, that was like I call to witness. So we can ask our usual question, what happens when a surah starts like this, which was the case for the past couple surahs as well, in a different sense. For example, when we were studying Surah Teen, we said what Teen was Zaytun wa Turi Sinin, so it was starting with another word of Qasam, which was wow in there. Now it is Lam. So these are word of Qasam attracting our attention to certain things. And in general, the idea, as we discussed before, Quran is going to make a statement, but before making a statement, comes up with words of oath to attract our attention to certain things. This was number one. Number two, a statement is going to be made that I am not that sure about, and the word of oath is to bring me evidence for what is going to be said in the future. Right? Which means also, since the argument is going to be built on top of this, the words of oath should be either self-evident to me or I should be able to verify it. So that the rest, so words of oath should be known by me so that the unknown is going to be built on top of that. Now, this being said, لا أقسم بهذا البلد. I do call لا أقسم بيوم القيامة. I do call to witness the day of resurrection. قيامة. ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. I do call witness the self-accusing soul. What do we know about Qiyamah? And what do you think about nafs al-lawwama, self-accusing soul? And are these things self-evident to you? What do you think? Let's start from there. What is Qiyamah? Any ideas? Whatever you know, let's start a conversation from there. And as an anecdote, Apparently, the word qiyamah is coming from qiyam, like in the prayer, we are standing up at the qiyam, which again, the same word is being used for rebellion, like a qiyam against rulers. But in this sense, يوم القيامة, the day of qiyamah. Nothing. This should be something self-evident for you. No? The day of resurrection. People are blank about this, which means whatever comes next is not going to fit. Okay, Zarin made the motion of something is coming. Okay, please go ahead.
Yes. The day, there's the final resurrection day that comes to mind, so like the end time, but also maybe on a smaller scale, like a day of accountability. That's the first thing that comes into my mind. So a day maybe when I thought I could get away with something, turns out that there were consequences for whatever action.
Yep. So there's going to be a day in which the dead bodies which are laying down is going to be made to stand up. Qiyamah will be called to stand up. So in the previous discussions, we talked about human being in expectation of such a thing in the first place. I am living a life, and no matter how much I would like to bury it or cover it up, I know that I'm going to be held accountable at some point. So when it says لا أقسم بيوم القيامة, saying that you know that you're going to be raised up. So it must be something self-evident. This being the case, as we were talking about last week, the first addressees of Quran were deniers of resurrection. They were saying that we live the life and we die. And as Brother Birkan last week was saying, that is it any different in this age? Like, do people in today's society believe in afterlife or being resurrected? We die and it is, like nothing more than that. Yet the surah is starting by saying that day, you know that it will come. As a follow-up to this, talks about nafs al-lawwama, self-accusing soul. What do you think about this? Do you have a self-accusing soul? Or a self-praising soul? What sort of a soul do you have? Yes.
I think for me personally, I'm always critical of myself. So I think like, no matter what I do, like, am I doing this the right way or not? Like I find there's something that I find to like blame myself for. And I think that kind of makes sense with the first verse, because if death truly was the end and there was nothing like afterwards, it's like, why would we have such a soul that is critical of itself? It shouldn't like matter like what we do or don't do.
And do you see people who are not like that? Like they're always right. Like maybe it is Zareen torturing herself by being so self-critical. Because it's talking to everyone, yes.
Feeling that I think for the most part, maybe all experiences something. Or if we are given that to be at least, then we are concerned that itself very mentioned would be no purpose that if there was nothing to come up with given to us for
we find ourselves in it, right? We can't try not to, but this self-accusing is what we find ourselves in. So yes, your boss can say that guilt is an unhealthy feeling, so try to stay away from it. But I find myself in it. So I need to put effort to stay away from it. So I am made in a way that I am accusing myself. Which also means I do something and I am being involuntarily called to say that, Yusuf, you know it, you did it wrong. Even if I pretend outside saying that whatever I do, I always do right, but deep inside, I know that I did wrong. Maybe I'm never admitting it to outside world, but everybody in this room can check for themselves, of course, but at least I can speak for myself that there is a part in me which is, admits or not, sometimes even I am not willing to admit it to myself, as will come in the verses, by putting some excuses. Despite putting excuses, I know that I am wrong. But Atik told me this though. Like, why have you been so harsh with Atik? I know something is wrong, but then what do I say? But he did this and that to me. So although I put some excuse in there. Then after these two comes the questioning. Does man think that we cannot assemble his bones? So what does this signify? Anything that comes to you? Yep.
So I think when we're everything's gone away and what's remaining is bones and maybe they turn into dust too. I think it's referring to that. Like, do you think that's like if we turn into nothing and there's bones left? Do you think we can assemble you again? Who you are?
Yeah. And also things that we leave behind. Like things happen and we feel like it's done deal. Like I wronged Birkan and I feel like it's going to be forgotten. It's not going to be brought back to me. Like it's going to be buried and forgotten and I'm not going to be held accountable to that. Or whatever I do in my life, I live once, so I do whatever I do and I will never look back. But does human think that it's not going to be brought back? But ultimately, yes, how about me? I feel like whatever I leave behind, it will stay behind. But he says, do you think that we are not going to put them together and bring it back to you again? Indeed, we are able to restore his very fingertips. Like not only we will bring in the bones together, but we will even bring your fingertips to there. So beautifully even saying that to the tiniest detail that you can observe in your body, we are capable of putting it back. It's not only you wronging Birkan from outside, but even those hidden feelings that you had from within, that you felt like, yeah, okay, I didn't wrong him explicitly, but in my world, I kept, black mouthing Birkan. Like from within me, I used to have grow these feelings in any case. Like I didn't get an opportunity to kill him, but in my world, he was already killed for so long. So these are sort of fingertips, as if the creator is saying that we are capable of doing that. And beautifully also putting it in a way that in my existence, I should question this. Whomever is doing this detail right now in my life is capable of redoing it. Yes.
I'm also seeing this really further than the way that talking about the fingertips and how they're unique. So very barely visible to the eye.
Yeah.
All those things they would,
yeah,
in terms of reconstruction.
I mean, this is an important point because they are unique, but whomever knows you to this level of uniqueness, because it might feel like if I go to a psychiatrist and I sit to the seat of the psychiatrist and the guy is talking to me and trying to see where I am coming from. And he says, what do you feel about Birkan? So how do you feel when you see Birkan? And I say, well, I'm feeling like oh, he's like this and that, while I am this and that. So he says, okay, this is just a standard jealousy. So in his mind, he has this type of standard jealousy and just puts me there and then starts talking about how to treat jealousy and whatnot. But fingertip is a unique thing, saying that what you are going through in your relationship with Birkan, I'm going to bring exactly what that's going through. And you're living this right now, and that's not going to be forgotten. Every detail of it is going to be brought back to you. بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه. But man would choose deny what is before him. يسأل أيان يوم القيامة. He asks, when will be this day of resurrection? فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر. But when sight is confounded and the moon is eclipsed, وجمع الشمس والقمر, and sun and moon are united, يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر. On that day, man will cry, where to flee? So, what do we understand from the first one? بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه. Man would choose to deny what is before him. What is it that we choose to deny that's before us? Like before meaning right in front of us. In the light of the previous 4 verses. Yes, sir.
There is going to be accountability, there is going to come a day. Maybe if you're doing something wrong, you still deny in somewhat a related way to that, or you don't pay heed to the sense that you're.
Yes, anything else? Yeah.
Tasks, again, just the way it says, is the day you're more concerned about it. Life is still.
Yeah, and this, like the tone of questioning in here is not to really learn when it's going to happen, like when is the next sun eclipse is going to happen. It's not like that type of question. It's not a question of curiosity. It's more so like a sarcastic way of asking, when is it going to, like, broad it, when is it going to happen? So, but the interesting thing in here is بل يريد الإنسان, but no, man, like instead, man chooses to deny what is before him. Like as if, since how it started, the verse was لا أقسم بيوم القيامة, saying that this is so self-evident, upon which it's self-evident to you that I call it to witness, or I swear by this, yet human can choose to cover it up. Although it's right before me, it's so obvious to me, yet I can choose to say that, no. Even sarcastically saying, okay, when is it going to happen? Although I know that it's going to happen, but I'm pretending as if it will never happen. Which is pretty much how life is. Like, is there anybody who is not knowing that they're going to get old, they're going to lose their, I don't know, joys in life and whatnot, everything. But once you say that, slow down, find a purpose in your life, just bring it to me as if, like, when is this going to happen? Sort of a thing. This is the attitude. So I can choose to cover it up and forget as if it's never going to happen. In other case, it also can be understood as what is before you, what is given to you, is calling you to senses that I'm going to be held accountable. Like I am being given constantly, and I should be saying that, oh, if this is being given to me, whomever gives this to me is going to ask me about it at some point. But I say, no, it's not being given to me. I found it. It is mine. It's by chance. Why should anybody ask about it to me? Every moment of life, I just take it as, yeah. Before COVID, I was talking to a colleague, a friend, and telling me that he's not afraid of
death. Says, I'm not afraid of dying. I mean, I achieved a lot. I kind of served my purpose. I'm ready for it. And I'm, of course, questioning whether this is right or wrong. I'm giving him examples and so on and so forth. And we're talking and says,
He's ready.
he's ready. Then, after several months, maybe a year later, he disappeared. He started not coming to office, joining from the home and so on and so forth.
Well, COVID came and he stopped showing up for work.
Nobody knows about COVID.
Okay. Well, COVID was not, lockdown is not there.
No, nobody knew. Like, I didn't even know the word COVID at that time.
Okay.
And then I learned, like we learned, he knew about COVID. Like he was watching the news and so on, that disease is coming from China to the world.
Or still it was at China.
Yeah, it was China. But he watched the news and he projected, probably read some articles and so on and so forth. And then he just locked himself to the basement.
Wise man. Okay.
And then after a few months, we learned about COVID and so on, and he explained he knew it before, he even made some money transactions and so on and so forth to secure his.
Well,
Yeah, and I said, yeah, mashallah, he was ready for it.
يسأل أيان يوم القيامة. He asks, when will be this day of resurrection? Then comes this very interesting description now. فَإِذَا بَرِقَ الْبَصَرُ. But when sight is confounded. Like bariqa in here is like barq, lightning. Lightning comes to sight. As if so bright, you're not able to see. وَخَسَفَ الْقَمَرُ. And the moon is eclipsed. وَجُمِعَ الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ. And sun and moon are united. يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر. On that day, human says, where to flee? Where shall I escape? So what do you think about this imagery? What does this bring to you?
Sounds like the resurrection seems to be like the next.
Mm.
I wonder if it like figurative, like when we're swimming with the lost in the darkness, the whole like light, but like as it is, it seems like it's literally an eclipse. And like why would it reduce the Qiyamah to just that?
Okay, that's a good question. Or shall I read it figurative? Yeah.
I'm thinking of this as how like Qiyamah is like waking the body. This just seems to be like a part of it. The translation I have, it's like I'm having a hard time understanding like what's when the sun and moon being united. Because it's kind of like it didn't repeat in the sense that when their light goes away, when the moon eclipses, the light of the moon is taken away, and similar thing is happening. The sun's light goes away.
Okay.
However, the last verse, the 10th verse, seems like I feel like it's referring to the same man that in a few verses ago was asking sarcastically, like, oh, when will this day of resurrection be? I feel like it's referring to that same man now concerned where to be. But it's very interesting, like the imagery.
So Quran is again speaking to us, and the day of resurrection, the ultimate day of resurrection, could have been like this, but in general, how would I understand it so that it's going to be a wake-up call for me? And this should be something self-evident, resurrection should be self-evident. So it's a day in which my eyes are going to be with the thunder or with the lightning. I'm not going to be visible. Even we have a word like this in Turkish, but probably in English we could also have it like gözümde şimşekler çaktı, like lightnings happened in my head. If somebody hit you well in the head and you just lose your everything. So we have a saying like this, like the lightnings strike before my eyes. Seeing stars. Okay. So like you are having this and you lose sight. Somebody hits you so well. So there's going to be something happening in your life where you're totally upside down. Again, this Qiyamah could also be taken as like making upside down. Everything is getting upside down. Those that are under the earth is being put above the earth. So it could be a news in which, as we were mentioning last week, news of, I don't know, in this case, COVID coming. The guy didn't even maybe got COVID at all in his life, but his life was just like a lightning strike before his eyes, and now being upside down, saying that, oh, I should take measures, take my money back in. Where should I escape? Let's escape to my basement is becoming really, like in this case, COVID was a nice reminder to us where to flee. We really fled to our basements or locked ourselves into the houses. So in my life, things happen when I start seeing that the light of the moon disappears. If I take it in the translation as you suggested, the moon joins, sun joins moon in losing its light as well. Because initially, what do we think? Light of sun, light of moon comes from sun. So in the previous verse, it says, light of moon disappeared because moon is eclipsed. In the following verse, it says, sun joins moon in losing its light. So if you think like, in terms of causes, the cause of light of moon was sun. He says even the sun loses its light. Like the whole creation is making you realize that neither the moon nor the sun was the source of light. Everything is starting to point saying that if you were to go and beg to the moon saying that give me light, moon says, I don't have light. Then you turn your face to the sun saying that, oh, moon didn't give me light, but since it was taking light from you, oh, sun, give me light. Sun says, I don't have light. This is when you say, Ayn al-mafar, where do I flee now? Because I couldn't go to moon, I couldn't go to sun. And in my life, I thought my parents would be helpful. Then my degree would be helpful. Then I thought, oh, the science of medicine would help me. But I come to the end and there's nobody who can help me. This is the moment where I would say, where do I escape? Yes.
Like at least the ones that I can remember, the ayahs about Qiyam, that you've already mentioned it. They all talk about the orders that you see in the creation, like the mountains, they are fixed things. Or the sky is so west, right? And the Qiyamah is defined as kind of the breaking of this order. The sky, so west, is folded. Right? The mountains that are so fixed are crumbled. The moon, sun, that you think they won't lose the light, the sun, giant fireball, loses its light. So entire order that we worship in our lives, like this is what we do. We think following this order, relying on causes and so on and so forth, will solve our problems. If you gather enough medicine or hand sanitizers before COVID, that should be enough for you. That's what we worship. And then Qiyamah is the day that this order is broken. The creator of the order says, this is my doing, now I'm changing it. I'm making the mountains as not fixed, the sky is folded and so on. I'm creating them this way now. And when you think it that way, the reminder, at least, of the Qiyamah is always there for us. Because there are these certain moments that we lose what we rely on most, and our lives are shaken. And it's a sign for the Qiyamah. And on that days, we say, okay, what am I going to do now? I lost the one that I rely on.
And at such moments, we become so destabilized. Right? Yep.
I'm still thinking about why it's because the moon is eclipsed, but then the moon is mentioned again. Like it could have just been the moon's light will go, the next one could be the sun's light. This is like, I don't know, bringing in science into this too, but like when a star is red, like it expands a lot. Like, could it be like actual physical? Like the sun will unite with the moon? Because that would be a side everyone could say we're.
Yeah, practically, eventually, if the sun and moon is going to get together, then physically speaking, they're coming together. I don't know if we will notice it or we will be burning immediately at this moment anyways, but yes, like this expansion is now going to be reversed and being put together in this sense. Yes. But especially since it's mentioning in a single consecutive verses that the lightning and then moon and sun, we can also refer to how Quran has been using them. Like Ibrahim alayhi salam in his journey was using, like first turning to moon, seeking for like, this is my sustainer, this is my Lord, and then turning to sun and saying that this is my Lord. So whatever you consider as your Lord is, as Birkan was saying, going to be folded in my hands, as if the Creator is saying that. Whatever you were seeking refuge in, they're in my hands. And for and then for the lightning part, it also reminds me of like how in Surah Baqarah, it's reminding of an immediate lightning to which people go in that direction and then they fall into pitch dark. When describing the hypocrisy, says their example is like that of a lightning in the darkness, then they go towards this lightning, and then once lightning's light finishes, they are now in perfect darkness and don't know where to go. So it's a moment in which you are finding yourself in total darkness. There is a super light, but then you're total darkness. And in my life, it happens, and this phrase is so interesting for me, or striking for me. Ayn al-mafar. Where do I go? Like this moment of saying, where do I go? In my life, if I find myself at the moment of where do I go, I think this verse is bringing such moments to my attention, saying that you find yourself so without option. Now what do I do? I tried all options, none of them is working. What do I do now? This is a moment which should kalla la wazar, alas, no refuge. Where am I going to seek refuge in? Ila rabbika yawma idhan al-mustaqar. Unto your Lord is the recourse day. So mustaqar is like finding stability. The word qarar, it is like finding a stable state or a proper destination. This is the target that you're going to find tranquility. At such moment, ila rabbika yawma idhan al-mustaqar. Your recourse that day is to your Lord. In many of the surahs so far, this emphasis of your Lord, your return or your destination at this day, is your Lord is again important. whenever I read such verses, I should ask my question, who is my Lord? And in the speed of life, day-to-day life, I feel like I am forgetting this a lot, especially with the fast-paced lives that we are living nowadays. But the picture that's being drawn in here is, to me, feels like where the life is now at a stop, at a pause. And I question myself, okay, I turn towards this, its light is not there. I turn towards that, its light is not there. Where do I go? At this moment, it says, whomever is maintaining you, your return or your refuge can only be at him. يُنَبَّأُ الْإِنسَانُ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِمَا قَدَّمَ وَأَخَّرَ. Now, the Creator is now putting a mirror before me, saying that on that day, man is told the tale of that which he has sent before and left behind. قَدَّمَ وَأَخَّرَ. So what he put before and what he put after. On this day, I am being given the opportunity of, my Creator says, I will remind you of what you did, what you could have done, and what you did. So sometimes I try to do that for myself. Most of the time, I avoid doing this intentionally. I don't want to have this reckoning. But when it happens that all those things are taken away, all the things that I pay heed to, I realize they have no outcome for me. If I honestly pause and listen to nafs al-lawwama, this self-accusing soul, then I hear my Creator giving me the news, naba, giving me the news of what I did right and what I did wrong. I am realizing that I intentionally do not pause, afraid of hearing this news. If I pause, I am being given these news. Like even when I'm alive, I say, oh, this is where I messed up. And the Creator is saying that I will tell you, and I bear witness that He does tell me. But for that, either this is going to happen when everything is taken away, I'm going to be like the end of time comes for me, my Al-Qiyamah happens, I am being taken away, life is being taken away. Or you can do this before you die. And when you try to do this before you die, still the Creator gives you the news saying that this is what you did and this is what you could have done. Going back to the first verse, because of this nafs al-lawwam, the self-accusing soul, the Creator is then practically saying, this is my ways of doing it. بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرٌ. Oh, but man is a telling witness against himself. So human has sight over himself herself. وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرَهُ. This is the part that we were talking at the beginning, self-accusing soul. وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرَهُ. Although he might make up his excuses. You might be coming up with excuses and not self-accusing, or I might try to do, but the Creator is saying that deep inside, you are a witness against yourself. I made it you as such. You can come up with excuses, but you know that it's an excuse. As you are coming up with those excuses, deep inside, you know that you're wrong. And then the direction of conversation is slightly changing. Any comments that you have so far? It's not exactly changing, but slightly changing. So far, so good? Okay. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Stir not your tongue herewith to hasten it. Inna alayna jam'ahu wa Qur'anahu. Indeed, upon us is the putting together thereof and reading thereof. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. And when we read it, you should follow reading of it. ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانَهُ. Then indeed upon us is the explanation thereof. For this one, the historic explanation they give for this verse is that when verses was being revealed to Prophet ﷺ, Prophet used to recite them with his tongue quickly so that he doesn't forget. And this verse is saying that do not just steer your tongue quickly within parentheses, with the fear of forgetting it. Upon us is putting together and reading it, like Jama'hu, putting together, Qur'anahu, reading it. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. And when we read it, follow the reading, you should follow its reading. ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانَهُ. And then we will explain it. Its explanations upon us. Sure, this historically is a fact. And also it being protected by the Creator is also historical facts. Like, it was not that Prophet forgot anything or anything. So it was preserved for the Prophet. But since the beginning of the surah, we were being mentioned. How does this fit here? How does this fit for you? What do you think? Steering with your tongue. What do you steer with your tongue? That لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. Like, how is this related to the previous part for you? What is it that I keep steering with my tongue? What's happening here? And what does it mean that the Creator says it's upon me? It's putting together, it's reading, its explanation is upon me. You just listen to it when it is read to you. And its explanation is also upon me. Yes. Life event.
Versus like completely taken into.
Okay, that's good. So in this case, then, when he says "la tuharrik bihi," so bihi in here is a adjective. So what does it refer to? To hasten it. So what is it here? So yes, Ahmed, let's go with Ahmed.
I think it's referring to whatever excuses the person will make when they're being told.
Okay.
I feel like that's a very real feeling where if you are accused of something or if you know you did something, you immediately there's a hasty response where you're trying to oh no, I didn't mean that. It happened like this, and then this happened. So that's how I'm understanding it. That if you start making excuses that way, you, yeah, we will read to you what you did, and we'll explain to you why you did. Your excuses won't work.
Okay, very good. for that day. How about this day? Same thing. So I am doing things, and then ينبأ الإنسان يومئذ بما قدم وأخر. So let's say tonight I go home, slow down life, and then now I'm questioning myself. Where did I messed up in my life? Like my life journey, is it going in the right direction, or if I forked in the wrong routes? So where did I did like bima qaddama wa akhar? So what did I did right? What could I have done right and did wrong? So I keep questioning this. As this conversation is happening, بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة. So my creator now starts giving me my news at this moment, because now I am, in a sense, are trying to make a qiyamah. Like a revolution is starting to happen in my life at this moment. Like my qiyamah could happen at this night, at this very night, where now I am trying to embrace my mistakes, ready for it. And now my creator starts giving me my news, saying that, Yusuf, this is, this is where you acted arrogantly. This is where you thought you were strong enough. This is where you thought you know the right answer, and that guy know the wrong answer and whatnot. So these are the things that you started messing up. بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة. Because you were a witness against yourself. Like if nobody saw it, you saw it in the first place. From inside, you know with what intention you did it. From outside, it might sound pious or whatever, but from inside, you were a witness against yourself. So I am calling yourself against, yourself witness against yourself at this moment. Immediately at this moment, my ego comes up and says, but Birkan said this though. Like, okay, yes, I did, but if he didn't say it like this, I wouldn't say it like that. So I start bringing this up. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. I brought you the news, and now you immediately start like moving your tongue to hasten it, sometimes to cover it up. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. I am going to put together the picture for you. Like jama'ahu, because sometimes, as Sister Zaha was saying, like putting the pieces together, it could be taken in both ways, actually. Sometimes what's happening is, in my life, as multiple times in this discussion, I mentioned a certain personality type that comes in my life, which I always mess up with them. I asked the question, like, why? What does my creator try to tell me? There must be something so badly wrong with me that as if I attract this personality type, and whenever I come across them, one way or not another, it explodes eventually. So as if my creator is saying that actually you know how you messed up with this guy. Pay attention by accusing yourself rather than accusing the other person. So nafsul lawwamah is being brought to witnessing here. Not self-defending nafs, but self-accusing nafs is being brought to witness. Like you're in a court and lawyer is there. And then the judge says, shut up. No, it's not. Let's call the witness, not the lawyer now it's witness's term to talk. So at this moment in my life, my self-accusing soul, which I am myself, is the witness there, is being brought and saying that, okay, I'm going to put the pieces together. In your life, you messed up with this. Like, let's talk about my case of certain personality type. In this example, you messed up from this angle for the same personality type. In the other case, this time you were coming from that direction, that from maybe another angle, but still the same personality type, because you had something wrong in you. I'm going to put the pieces together for you. Do not immediately start saying that, but the problem in this case was this guy's that attitude. In that other case, it was that other guy's that different attitude. No. I will put them together. Do not immediately start defending yourself. So, inna alayna jam'ahu wa qur'anahu. Sister Zareen had something to say there? Okay, right. No.
I said so that I would have authority.
Authority, go ahead. Okay.
When we say self-accusing, it sometimes sounds
Psychotic.
sorry,
Psychotic.
little psychotic, not productive, not fruitful, because as if just accuse yourself, you worthless piece of mud, you cannot do anything good, just destroy yourself. And
Self-hater.
self-hater, exactly. And I think the reason this, the concept arises in our mind, we take things within the word of life itself. Like when I say, for instance, self-accusing, what I have in mind is always accusing myself against Abdullah. Like whether I am right or Abdullah. Whether I did this right or my wife did it right. There's always between other people, other teachers and so on. When we take it this way, I think it becomes unhealthy, right?
Because it's 50-50
Exactly.
many of the times.
Yeah. But you just hate yourself, you deny your value, and so on. And it's not taking you anywhere. It just makes you a beggar of the other people. So you just say, okay, they know better. They are right. I'm always wrong. So, but the ayahs start with the Yawm al-Qiyamah when we stand in front of who? In front of not Abdullah, but our Lord. So we are self-accusing in relation to our Lord, relative to our Lord. And we've been given all these chances, all these good things in life, and instead of using them, instead of benefiting from them, we just caused harm ourselves. And now I'm realizing that, yes, it was all my fault that I didn't know my Lord. He gave me all the opportunities to know Him, all the opportunities to fulfill my duties not against Him.
Yeah, he gave those tools to be used to know him, but I used those tools to pretend as if I am him. Like he gave me authority, feeling of authority, with which I will get to know his authority over me. But I started using this authority to pretend as if I have authority over people. So I started abusing it.
You started abusing it, you started abusing yourself against yourself and so on. Or like a simple example, we always find, as you said, like these excuses that, oh yeah, but I don't know Arabic, how am I supposed to understand Quran? I was not trained this way, my family was not religious, whatever. Even such simple example. And then when you think about your life, it becomes more and more, I guess, obvious that you keep finding excuses to get away from you. So this self-accusing, again, it's not within the system of created beings, but self-accusing when you face your Lord, when you face the truth.
So it becomes useful and fruitful when I use it in its proper sense.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's really not healthy, right? I mean, you keep blaming yourself, and it means, and also when you blame yourself, it also implies that you could do better. Like you didn't pass the exam, you blame yourself. It means deep inside you, forcing yourself to believe that if you work harder, you would pass. So it's in your hands. The outcome was in your hand, but you couldn't achieve it. That's what gives you, this is the message you give yourself. When you self-blame for the worldly matters, let's say. But when you self-accuse, it's compared to your Lord, then it becomes healthy.
So then this repetitive mention of Inna alayna jam'ahu wa qur'anahu. It is upon us to put it together and to read it. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. When it is read to you, then follow its reading. So فَاتَّبِعْ in here is like, sometimes it's being translated in terms of obeying, like you follow Prophet, for example. So ittiba in here means that. So what does it mean to follow its reading? So is it like somebody is reading and then you listen to their recitation and put your finger over the text and then read it like this? Or as the news is being read to you, you are now acting by it. You are following or obeying what is being read to you. Now I am submitting to or accepting. Do not still, despite now the truth is being told to you, do not show resistance to it. And when it is read to you, we are going to also explain you its meaning. Its explanation is also upon us. That's important in multiple senses. One is having this Qiyamah in my life, or showing the courage to, what do they say? Brace for impact, as the plane is. So first, being ready for this self, like facing this in this, what's it, Qiyamah in my life, things are going to be made upside down. Don't wait until you die. Don't wait until the world dies. But in your life, pause and say, let's make it before it happens. And once the news starts coming, if you ask, then it will come. That's important. And in our Friday discussions last week, inshallah, this week we will continue with this. One example, one aspect of Quran in there was mentioned as conversation. Having a conversation back and forth with your creator. Although it's a speech one way, apparently it's a conversation. Now in here, you ask, we come to the point of, where do I flee? I ask the question, says, then we will tell you the news. And when the news starts coming, do not push back again. Do not bring up any further excuses. Listen to it. We will read it to you. It's upon us to read. It's upon us to put the pieces together for you. And then when it's read, you listen, you follow what's being said carefully, ready to not push back, but digest and understand. And we will explain it further to you. Because what happens is sometimes I say, oh, I had an enlightenment in my life today, thanks to my, I don't know, contemplation. I can attribute this to myself as well. Like I was bothered by this personality type for 15 years. Last night, I found the answer. I can still say, I found the answer. My creator is in here saying that putting pieces together is upon us. Reading it to you is upon us. Explaining it to you is also upon us. Praising my creator in this sense. Because I came to him at this moment saying that, where do I flee? I'm at the end of the roads. Now he starts talking to me. And then I start saying that I found the answer. Like sometimes jokingly, what was happening in certain discussions was, brother was saying that, oh, there was something about this in the book. And he starts turning the pages. He says, oh, I was not meant to find it. He couldn't find it. He says, I was not made to find it, saying that God didn't make me find it. And then he would find it. Oh, I found it, he would say. When he cannot find, he says, God didn't make me find it. But when he finds it, he says, oh, I found it. This is how it happens in life. Like I feel so at the bottom, I hit the bottom, and I say, Allah help me, where do I flee? Then he says, okay, you're ready now to listen to the message. Now the message starts coming, and I say in the morning, last night was worthy 1,000 nights, 1,000 months. I found the answer. Explanations from this. Inshallah, next week, let's continue from here. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.